This video is going to tell you what you need to know about R value, BTUs, airflow, proper ventilation, and all the other stuff that goes into keeping your house the temperature you want it to be, or your shop the temperature you want it to be. This video is dedicated to RK Media Arts. He asked me to make a video on how to keep your shop warm. That was in the winter, summertime now. I don't think he wants to stay warm in his shop right now. But anyway, this is going to cover temperature changes, you know, keeping it warm in the winter, hot in the summer. We're going to talk about accepted, tried, and proved methods, you know, going by code and all that stuff. And we're going to talk about some stuff that's not by code. Quick, fast calculator. I'm going to give you how to figure out BTUs, all this stuff. I'm going to make it really easy and simple for you, so stay tuned. As for all my videos, don't take nothing I say here seriously. This is just a skit for entertainment value. And I tell you what, after we're done talking about all this boring BTUs and R values, there's going to be something really fun at the end of this video. The most fun video I've made to date. Alright, the first thing we're going to talk about is BTUs, which stands for, who cares? Nobody cares what it stands for. I mean, yeah. No. What it basically is, it tells you the power you need to heat or cool that room. Alright, the simple calculator is length of your room by the width of your room by the height of your room. Length times width times height times 5 equals the BTUs you need to heat or cool that room. Okay, this is the simplest calculator I've found. Now, if you want to get all exacto and technical, they have some really complicated calculators on the internet. They have some that take in, you know, windows in the room, if your door has a window, all this craziness. And you know, WikiHow has a more complicated one than this here, but it's easier to use than most of them. Now, it's getting more specific and exacting to the type of BTUs you need, but you know, if it comes out that you need 5,000 BTUs, then I would just figure on, you know, 5,100 or something like that. I just throw in a little extra just to make sure. Now, if your room or rooms aren't rectangular or whatever, or there's some kind of funny oblong shape, you're just gonna have to draw your shapes out. Try to draw your floor plan the best you can. It don't gotta be a work of art. Break the space up into shapes so that you can get some good measurements of what's going on in there. Don't forget, it's not a science project. You're not doing this so you can figure out exactly how much duct you should run in your house and how big the duct should run and how powerful, you know, none of that crazy HVAC stuff. This is just basics to understand basics. That's it. Once you know how many BTUs you need for the room, then you can compare apples to apples about which heater is the cheapest one for you as far as energy consumption. The heaters that I like best are those little Amish heaters that heat for pennies a day. Now, there's some out, there's a lot of them out now that aren't Amish heaters. It used to be only Amish, and you could only order it through like magazines or something. They were like $400 a piece, but they heat for pennies a day. What it is they got the little mouse wheel in there that goes like this, a turbine, and then they got a ceramic thing and infrared coils and a bunch of other boring stuff. But they heat really well for not a lot of money. Alright, of course, if you got access to free wood, you know, if you're cutting down trees on your property, or you're a carpenter or something, you can bring some wood back from work. Don't be burning no treated wood in there. Then, obviously, you got a source of free fuel, and you should put you a wood stove in. Me, I was always finding like people would give me propane tanks, whether it was a little camping ones and sometimes the big ones. I don't know, what are they, 20 gallons or something. But people give me those for free, you know, here and there. Enough to where it would be worth it for me to buy some kind of propane heater. Now, if you're using propane or kerosene or whatever, then you want to make sure that thing is supposed to be used inside, because when there's a fire, it consumes oxygen and releases carbon monoxide, which if it's inside and all the oxygen's going away and a bunch of carbon monoxide is coming out, then hey, you know, I'm not a scientist, but that's bad. You're going to fall out and hit your head. You know, it's going to murder you from asphyxiation. Basically, it's going to smother you. In my shop, I just dress like I would dress if I was going outside. I put my bibs on and all that. Now, R value, when you're talking about insulation, you want to know how strong the insulation is. You're talking about R value. The higher the number, the R value, 19, 30, whatever, I forget what they all are, but the higher the number, the more R value it has. Now, some people that never dealt with this before may think that, hey, I'm going to run in the store, I'm going to see the thing with the biggest R value, and I'm just going to grab it off the shelf and start stuffing it everywhere. Nope. No. Your walls need a certain R value, the ceiling needs a certain R value, the floor needs a certain R value, and the attic needs a certain R value. Now, I can tell you that I've read books about it, and they say it's bad if you go over the R value. I mean, if you go over, you know, 5 or 10, whatever, I don't think anybody cares. But if you're just going crazy going over the R value, it's not good. I forget why the book said that, because I read them like 12 years ago or something. Not good. You can do some research. Maybe that's changed. The thinking on that has changed. That's what I say. Anyway, that's not really the way to go saving money, is, you know, stuffing huge amounts of insulation everywhere. That's, no. The easiest thing to do would probably be to call Pro Sales or the Pro Desk or Contractor Sales or whatever it is called at Home Depot and Lowe's, and ask them what it is for the floor, the wall, the ceiling, attic, whatever you're thinking about insulating. And then you got to ballpark what you're working with. Well, let's talk about the code stuff first. You got the cheapest stuff as far as code goes is probably going to be the blown-in insulation, which is diced up newspaper with fire retardant all over it. Doesn't even look like newspaper anymore. You get this hose and the machine to, you know, you cut holes in the sheetrock or whatever and put the hose up there, and it blows all that back in the wall. Comes in these bales like hay bales, and you put it in the machine and it chops it up and blows it through the hose into the wall. If you buy so much from Lowe's or Home Depot, they will let you rent the machine for free over the weekend. You want to get all your prep work done before you get the machine, so you know there's no demons hiding behind the walls that's going to make you have to rent that machine a second time. First time it's fun, second time no it's not. If you don't have any kind of sheathing over your walls, then you have to get you some plastic. I'd say 4mm plastic, 4 millimeters thick, and just, you know, cut little crosses in them at the top and spray that stuff in there. Blow it in there rather. You got sheetrock, you can cut holes in it so you can spray it back there. Now, it doesn't get it 100%, and there's no vapor barrier. You need a vapor barrier on the warm side of insulation. So my walls over here, if I put up plastic, insulation goes in here. That plastic's a vapor barrier. That paper on the back of the Pink Panther stuff, that's a vapor barrier. Keeps the insulation from getting wet. Insulation gets wet, it's ruined. You take it out and throw it away. We're talking about pinching pennies here. Yeah, it's probably better than nothing, but you want some vapor barrier. Now, if you don't really care what it looks like in your shop, you can just leave those holes in the sheetrock. If your better half hates it, then whatever, fix them. If nobody cares, you tear the sheetrock down and then put plastic up, you know, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the shop anyway. You can get sawdust and, you know, dirt and whatnot all over the walls, and they look like crap unless your walls are like painted brown or something. That's the cheapest one by the books, you know, code. The next cheapest one is probably the Pink Panther stuff, and then you got insulation that kind of comes in these slabs, however wide, 16 to 24 wide, depending on, you know, you can buy them at different widths, and they come in lengths, I think like 5 feet tall. So you get a big bale of them like this, and there's like 10 of them in there. Alright, those things are supposed to provide, you know, R value as well as soundproofing. I've seen people soundproof in some really creative and low cost ways. If you want to know about that stuff, go ahead and research it. I can't get into every nook and cranny on this video, or it's going to be like 2 hours long. Alright, after that, you got the spray and stuff, the foam or whatnot. They come with a big truck, and they got these guns, and they shoot this stuff. It looks like from Ghostbusters 2 or whatever. Now, there's a big line about how efficient this is and how all this money you're going to save and blah, blah, blah. Now, I've heard about the outrageous prices. Now, I don't really care to run the numbers because I would never use this stuff. It's got to be crazy. How long does it take of that thing saving you a few energy dollars a year or a month? Or maybe it saves you a couple hundred, I don't know. But how many months, how many years does it take to recoup the thousands of dollars you paid them to come and spray? I don't think it makes sense. I've never run the numbers. You know, I'm sure they got a crazy sales pitch like people like that often do about, oh, blah, 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 all these fancy word encapsulated addicts and all that. No. Alright, people start saying crazy words like encapsulated, and you know that you're paying more money than you should. Because, I mean, is that even a real word? I can hardly say it. So there is the by the book insulation. Now, not by the book, you can pay attention to Craigslist or whatever, or maybe you see stuff going on around the neighborhood and somebody's tearing out some insulation. They will let you come over and stuff that insulation in bags, and then you can put it in your shop. It doesn't have the same R value, because once you stuff the Pink Panther panels or vats or whatever you call them in a bag, that it loses R value, so it says. I've even had one of those guys who did the spray foam insulation stuff tell me that by the time the bag of insulation gets from Owens Corning to Lowe's, that it's did so much shaking, and then they compress it to get it in that big tube, that the R value is almost, you know, nothing. Now, I don't believe that. No, sir, I don't. I've been in houses and sheds or whatever where there wasn't no insulation, and I've been in houses where obviously it had the Pink Panther stuff, because that's the most popular thing for what, like the 80s, 90s, and from 2000 to 2010, I guess, whatever, a lot of people got it. There's a big difference between nothing in the walls and some Pink Panther that supposedly lost all its R value in the walls. Okay, the stuff works. I do believe that when you take it out of the wall and stuff it in a bag, that it's going to lose some R value. And you're probably not going to be able to staple it, you know, it's been sitting in the wall for 20 years. Or hanging up in the crawl space for 20 years. It's probably going to be nasty looking and stinky, and, you know, you probably have to, I don't know, put up some plastic or something to hold it in there, or maybe get some of them little rods. It's kind of like pieces of a wire coat hanger that you stuff in there. Just go and talk to the people in the insulation aisle and tell them you need insulation rods to hang insulation up, and those will probably keep that in there good enough until you can get some plastic sheeting or something like that over all the bays to hold the insulation in. R value, some of it's going to be depleted, but it will be better than nothing. I've been in some really old houses to where in the ceiling of the first floor and the floor of the second floor there was dirt in there. I suppose some people had dirt in there as a fire retardant or insulation or both, because that house was made, I don't know, 200 or 300 years ago, before there was, you know, Pink Panther or whatever. I've seen some people that will ball up newspaper and put it in the walls of something like a shack, or where they would use it, you know, as a shop. You know, you hear about the homeless people, they stuff newspapers in their jackets, so the stuff, it does give you some insulation. Not saying you should put dirt in your wall, not saying you should put newspaper in your wall without fire retardant. You know, I definitely wouldn't go and doing that in the bays. What I mean by bays is between this stud and that stud, you got this bay, that your insulation vat or piece or panel or whatever it's going to fit in, I wouldn't go put it in putting nothing flammable in a bay that had wire running through it, or especially like an electrical outlet or something, or a junction box. That just don't sound like a good idea. Maybe you put it in there and it'll be fine. I don't see how newspaper could magically catch fire in a bay that didn't have any electrical wire or anything in it. And anyway, that fire retardant stuff, if your house catches on fire, it's not like the fire is going to hit the fire retardant insulation and be like, well, I'm done. You know, I was going to burn the house down, but the insulation's fire retardant, so I guess, yeah, whatever. No. No, your whole house is going to burn down. It's going to get 25,000 degrees in there or something crazy, whatever crazy temperature a house fire gets. That's how hot it's going to get in there. It's going to burn everything. Sheetrock is not a flammable thing. That sheetrock is going to burn to a crisp. Alright, it gets hot. I'm telling you that so in trying to dispel any kind of, you know, wonderful fantasies of crazy talk you have in there about, oh, everything's got to be fire retardant. Why has it got to be fire retardant in a bay with no fire risk? No wiring, no junction boxes, no nothing. What's going to catch on fire? The ants going to go in there smoking cigarettes? No. Everything's got to be by code, which, you know, maybe that sounds good and that's all you got is a thing that sounds good that you tell other people. Well, my deck was done by code. Yeah, alright. Carpenters tend to overbuild things anyway, so it's not like it's going to fall down or something crazy like that. Yeah, you can go and research cheap insulation or offbeat insulation, whatever you want to call it. Usually when I want to save money doing something, I'll think about how they might have done it like 100 years ago. Like if I wanted to put a drawer underneath my workbench here for, you know, small tools or whatnot, then I would read how they did drawers back in the 20s when they didn't have, you know, drawer hardware or whatever. And yeah, it would thump and bump when I pushed it in, and it would thump and bump when I pulled it back out. But hey, it would be a drawer, and it wouldn't cost me $130 to make it. It just serves the purpose, and it doesn't cost a fortune. It doesn't need to be pretty. This is a shop. We got closing in the space if you can. If you got, you know, like this is my shop area here. You can't see all this on camera or whatever, but right about here is where we're standing now, and of course my workbench is right there in the corner. Now over here there's a closet, and this is my bituminous drawing of a staircase which is open, so obviously any heat down here would go up in that staircase. Whether or not the door at the top of the staircase is open or not doesn't matter. This staircase up in here is going to have most of the heat up in there because the heat rises. Alright, now this red line indicates that my shop occupies this space. But over here there's other stuff that's not my shop. But there's no barrier right here. Alright, there's more stuff over here, other rooms or whatnot. But there's a door right here that can be shut. It's not airtight like an exterior door, but you get the idea. It's good enough. Now what I could do is take some 2x4s, and like this is the 2-inch part and this is a 4-inch part. I could put them fat ways up on the ceiling like this, and so I got something to staple to over here, and I just get some plastic sheets, some big plastic sheets, I don't know, 50 feet by 10 feet or whatever. And then I staple the top of that to those boards that I lay across the floor joist or the ceiling joist, whatever way you want to look at it. Those big boards up there. Where you come in and out, you can just leave it like a tent at the circus, to where you come in and out of that flap. You're going to get tired of that before too long. Or you can just, you know, get some junk drawer, make a door, whatever, and put it right there and frame it in. I mean, it's not like you have to frame in jack and king studs or whatever. You don't have to put a header there. It's not holding anything. It's It's just a spot where a door goes. So some simple framing techniques and you can do that. I was going to put a storm door right there, probably a 100-year-old storm door, aluminum. And it had a screen. It wasn't to keep temperature in and out. It's just to keep sawdust in here. So for the most part, sawdust doesn't go through screens, in my experience. I've never really paid a whole lot of attention to it. But if it did, I would just tape some plastic over the part where the screen window was. Now I just do that here, and right about here, I'd frame in the door. Okay, and at the bottom I might lay some, you know, a 2x4 down there. I probably wouldn't shoot it to the floor because I don't want to bust up the concrete, you know. It just puts in little holes about, I don't know, that big. But still, I wouldn't want to do that. So I might like lay some 2x4s down there. And who knows, maybe staple the plastic to it here and there. It's not like hurricanes blow through here. So I do it in a simple way. And once you did that, put them 2x4s across the ceiling here. And then this way, and then frame that door in and staple your plastic sheet right here. And down there, don't have to be all one sheet. Then you can, you know, effectively keep a lot more heat in here. Now you don't need to put a stud wall there, 16 inches on center with a bottom plate and a double top plate. That's craziness. Every time you build something, it does not have to be the Taj Mahal. Okay? That plastic sheet is going to keep a decent amount of heat or cool air in here. Basics of that is make your area smaller if you can. If you can block off that open stairwell, then block it off. You know, put a piece of plastic there, run a 2x4, and then staple some plastic to it. If you don't mind things being all ugly, if you're one of those persons, you're one of those people where everything has to look great, then hey, more power to you. Go ahead and make it look great. You know, research a beautimous way of doing it. If you want to get an air conditioner in here with a window unit, that's what I recommend. Alright, I'm not going to get into my whole spiel about what I think about HVAC or whatever right now. Window units are what I like. I can get one for 50 bucks out of the paper, off the internet, whatever, and just stick it in the window right here, and then it's going to be plenty cool in here. Now if I didn't have windows and I didn't care if it got a little bit hotter in here because it's not living space, I would frame in a window right here, which is like a fake window, and put the window unit in there, which would blow cool air in here and a little bit warmer air out of the back end, obviously. Now if I didn't want to get stuff like that over there, say I got clothes over there, I don't know, whatever. I've been in some places working to where I would just sit an air conditioner on top of a 5-gallon bucket, and I set a block of wood under one corner so it tilts like this, and I set another 5-gallon bucket behind it to catch all the water that drips out of that back corner. A lot of cool air comes out of the front, some warm air comes out of the bottom. Not as efficient as if it was in a window, no, but it does get cooler in there. Now me, I've got my little whistle fan over here, and I got a video. I'll show you what it is now. That's my little whistle fan right there I was telling you about. There she is. And I'm what, like 20 feet away from it, and I can really feel the breeze. It pulls that cold air off the bottom of the room and then puts it in your face. My friend just walked in and he said he thought the air conditioner was on. And here's the door he came in. And this is basically where I do all my work, and I got my floating big rack right here, and you know, fasteners there and all kind of stuff right here in this alley. It's where I do 90% of my work. And of course my workbench, and this thing standing right here, it just blows right by your legs. You got some shorts on and it'll be 100 degrees outside or better, and you feel just fine. I mean, if it's not like hot outside, this thing will make you cold. You got to turn it down some. See, from the side, it's shaped kind of like a whistle. It's got a turbine thing in there, like a little hamster wheel. And it's 50 bucks at Walmart, and you'd be good to lay a little filter over this like the ones that go in air conditioners if you're going to use this in a construction site. because mine wobbles a lot now. It's sucked up little sheetrock pebbles or whatever, and it's the fan is kind of off kilter, and it wobbles a little bit. You can't use it on the site anymore because it'll like go across the floor. But it works great in the shop, man. It ain't hot down here. And of course that turbine makes it really efficient. It don't burn a lot of electricity. That whistle thing does everything I need. It was 50 bucks at Walmart. Okay, proper ventilation. If your house isn't ventilated right, it's going to hold more heat in the summer. It's going to hold less heat in the winter. Okay, it's letting the heat or the cool air from the air conditioner go places you don't want it to go, like up in the attic or out your walls. Okay. Now the main area that I see problems with is the roof. Now here's my wonderful drawing powers right here. Here's my wonderful drawing skills. And here's a screwdriver older than me when I'm going to use it as a pointer. Alright, you got your house right here. Man, I'm a good drawer. You got your roof up here. Now this area of the roof that comes flat away from the house right here, this is a soffit. That part that hangs like this, that's a soffit. Soffit over here. The end with, a lot of times you see this vent up there, these I don't know, strips going sideways or whatnot, and a big hole in the side of the house, louvered. I think that's what you call it. Anyway, this is a vent here. Modern venting does not have these. Supposed to, when you walk under the house right here and you look up at the soffit, you're supposed to see holes in it, vents. Not holes like somebody smacked a hole in it with their hammer, but you know, professional vents are supposed to be there. I call them soffit vents. This is called a gable end vent. You got your roof, it's got 4 sides. 2 of them are slanted like this. The flat part over here, that's the gable end. The other end over here that's flat, that's the gable end. And this is your gable end vent. This is what they used to do before they had ridge vents. When your house goes like this part at the top, the pointy part, is called the ridge. Well, there's just a thing with shingles or whatever that allows hot air to vent out of there, called a ridge vent. You'll know that you have one if your roof comes in like this from the gable end, nice and flat, and then about a foot or 2 in, it bulks up the rest of the way across the roof. Let me put my wonderful drawing skills to use. Alright, the roof will be like flat like this over here at the gable end, and come in a foot or 2, and then you'll see it bulked up. Not all dramatic like this. And then at the other end, about a foot or 2 away from the end, you'll see it flatten back out again. It's not because somebody laid your shingles on wrong. It's because there's a ridge vent under there, and it's a little bit higher. How all this venting works is like this. Oh, look, I used colors. Ooh. Got your cool air coming in through here, the soffit vent, and then it picks up the warmer air and goes out the top, the ridge vent. Alright, now some houses I see do not have soffit vents. So, yes, the hot air still goes up, but it doesn't work right. That's like if you got a vacuum, the hose, you know, of course the hose sucks up things, you know, Legos or whatever, so you can step on them. And then when the air goes in the vacuum, it goes out the back of the vacuum. Suck it in through the hose, and the excess air goes out the back of the vacuum. It make your curtains move, you think there's a ghost in there, whatever. But if you lay your hand over the end of the hose, then it's going to have a hard time sucking air in there, let alone Legos. Okay, this is the hose right here for the house in the whole vacuum thing. This is where it sucks in air here. Now if there ain't no soffit vent, you got your hand over the hose. So where's it going to suck air from? Is air still blowing out of the back of the vacuum? Yeah, some, but it's not near as good. See, now it's going to suck air from somewhere. It's going to suck air from crevices or cracks, from probably, you know, over here, or maybe somewhere around the chimney's got a little, I don't know, it's going to somewhere, maybe your attic door, that door getting up in the attic, sucking air out of your house, the air conditioning. It's going to suck air from somewhere. Now, it's not going to ventilate near as well in there. You're not pulling in cool air and transferring the hot air out. That is not happening if you don't have soffit vents. And I've seen a shocking amount of houses without soffit vents. And that's mainly probably because people just don't know. And people don't walk around their house and looking and say, huh, I don't have soffit vents. Man. You know, people don't look at things like that. People don't walk around their house looking for leaks. You should, but they don't do that. So that's the thing that is not always done. I don't know about newer construction. Maybe it always has to be that way now, because I don't really touch new construction stuff very often. I get a house, you know, 15 or 20 years after it's been built, and it needs to be fixed. That's what remodeling contractors do. They don't go to the site and build a new house. Okay, now putting soffit vents in is not a crazy expensive thing. Just get you a hole saw or whatever, or you can get you a multi-tool, vibrating tool, whatever. They're like $100. Them blades are crazy expensive though. Cheapest way probably be sawzall, and get you a paddle bit to drill a hole up in there, and then sawzall. Get you some round, square or rectangle vents. Those is a lot easier than cutting round holes, you know. And then put your vents in there. You can look it up on Google to see how often, however so many feet you should put one. Okay, now if you put a new roof on and you get a ridge vent and you've already got a gable end vent, you should cover that gable end vent up, so the airflow goes from the bottom to the top. See, the gable end vent leaves all that hot air above it. So a ridge vent is much more efficient. Now you're just messing up the airflow if you're leaving that gable end vent and when you had a ridge vent installed. Likewise, I wouldn't have a ridge vent in turbines. Okay, I'm not an insulation expert or anything, but before you go putting turbines in addition to a ridge vent, then you should consult an expert to come out and look and see what's going on. If you think it's really hot in your attic or whatever, you know, have somebody look at it that knows what they're talking about. And yeah, I could come out your house and look at your unique situation. If you wanted to be, you know, 100% professional, encapsulated type stuff, then I'm not the guy. But if you want somebody to come out and tell you a cost-friendly way to make your attic vented properly, then I'm the one you want to talk to. Because I don't talk about any craziness, I just tell you the facts. Having your attic ventilated properly will lengthen the life of your shingles. Not ventilated properly will make your shingles not last as long, obviously. I got BTU'S, R value, close-in space if possible, proper ventilation and airflow, and this transfers the whole venting thing, transfers to shop specific like this. If your shop is in some kind of single story, you know, dwelling, building, whatever, you know, obviously if there's less heat in the attic, then it's going to be less hot in the room below it. Alright? Also, if you just threw up, you know, some kind of structure that you're going to have your shop in, putting, you know, a ceiling in so there's a buffer between the hot roof. You know, the sun's on the roof all day, making it really hot. If there's a ceiling in here, then there's a buffer between the hot roof and you. And, you know, the air just gets exchanged in here through the soffit and out the ridge vent. You don't have to put a ridge vent if it's just some kind of structure you threw up. You know, I'd just put me a gable end vent really close to the peak. I'd make it a triangle, you know, right under the rafters, as close as I could get to them without it being in my way. So that's it. Figure up your BTUs. Check out the different options of heating inside with something that's safe, meant to be used inside, won't create a bunch of carbon monoxide and kill you. And then make sure you got your walls, ceiling, floor insulated. R value, you know, as close as you can get it without spending $10 billion. Then shrink your space if you can. Cut out any open stairways if you can. And proper ventilation anyway. Okay, now that all the boring stuff is gone and I've crammed your brain with some nerdy knowledge, we're going to go to the coolest thing I've ever filmed to date. Here it is. Today we're going to play a little baseball. Got my Pee-wee bat here that I used to use for a demo here and there. It's great for breaking windows that you want to throw in the dumpster. Great American pastime, but we got to put a little bit of a carpenter twist on it, which is basically making it fun. So, hope you enjoy. Oh no!
Good?
Oh man!
Chopped it in.
It tore the top of it off. Oh no! Look at that.
Other pieces over here.
Oh yeah!
Oh man, strike one. Strike two.
What's that, huh? I forget what it's called when you just barely tap it. How many more we got in there?
About 5.
You want to try?
No.
Oh man, that was a good one.
Guess where it fell?
Where,
In the
back?
basket. Look.
Show the camera, that thing's messed up.
See, guys.
Man, it peeled it open.
I really think you should.